Hello, this is Dr. John from Friends with Medical Benefits. Today's podcast is going to be somewhat of a two-parter. The first part, we're going to do some reviews of some significant events that have happened in the last few weeks for both Bill and I. We have some updates that we'd like to share, and I'm going to start off by turning it over to Bill and letting him update you on what's been going on with him over the last few weeks.
Hey, thanks, John. Well, I guess the big news is that I had my 6-month screening at Sloan Kettering. I get one every 6 months, and that all went well. Blood work and scan. We did do a short on that one, and it showed that everything went well. So my next one will be in October, and that will put me right around or just short of the 4-year marker. And I don't know if it's kind of arbitrary or carved in stone or what, but 5 years seems to be the magical number of where they like to say that you're cured and cancer-free. So, if that's the case, I'm 70% of the way there. So that feels great.
Awesome. Yeah. That's great news.
Yeah. And as far as the, running and getting in shape and working to run the Berwick Run for the Diamonds on Thanksgiving Day, we talked about this on a couple of podcasts back in 2025 when I was starting to do some exercising and walking and building. And I did hit some rough snags when the weather got bad. I kind of got slacked off a little bit, and the holidays, but I've turned that around. I've gotten the motivation back, been working out a lot, and the running I started officially doing on April 1st. We've been putting out weekly updates on how that progress is going, but that April 1st jog that I took, that was around 0.6 of a mile, was the first time that I went running in probably over 5 years, at least since my first time that I had cancer. And although the pace wasn't great, the fact that I was able to complete it was really fulfilling for me, because I know how hard it was just for me to walk around the house and do basic tasks. So just being able to get out there. And I did that for 2 weeks, and my time dropped significantly. In fact, I was 1 second short of improving 3 minutes. Now, I used to be able to run a half mile in under 3 minutes. Now I'm improving my half mile by 3 minutes. But and I realized at that point, well, this is ridiculous because I don't need to be fast. I just want to finish. So I upped it to a mile, and I've been running a mile now for almost 2 weeks. And so on Wednesday, I'll do a time trial on that to see how it's going. And what I really did, the time is more just for a marker to show some progress, and using the app so that I could put the map with the statistics out there in our posts. But I'm really just needing to build the distance. I'm 1/9 of the way there, so that's I'm 11.11% of the way to being able to jog 9 miles. But
so
of
now
course, I know that. What's that?
So now, as a high school track coach, are you working on leveraging some of that experience to help you develop your endurance and everything that you used to use for your kids?
Well, yeah. Well, mainly now, though, it's more my cross-country experience. And I'm a true distance runner in the sense that I hate track work. Your long-distance runners who hate track are usually the ones who just love to go for long runs and recognize sprinting and workouts as a necessary evil. So I'm not there yet with what I would need from track experience. Right now, I just need to build distance, what used to come easy for me. And honestly, my biggest experience comes from being old as opposed to from being a coach, because I have to have the patience to know that I can't do what I used to do, and that I need to, I used to find it inconceivable that people would run races at a 12-mile or 12-minute mile pace. Well, I can't even run a 12-minute mile pace right now. So I'm seeing, that end of it, of what a struggle it could be for people. And I just need to just do what I can do to stay committed, running regularly, and getting the distance to where it needs to be. Then when I know that I could run 5, 6 or whatever miles, then we'll work on some workouts that I need to do to work on a little bit of speed. Not so much to run the race faster, but just to have the ability to hit the hills and some of the tougher parts of the course. But it's unusual for me because I've never, I never trained a runner just to finish, and I never really trained myself just to finish, which is all I'm trying to do right now is complete a race. So that changes the perspective of, having the goal of running a certain time or finishing in a certain place. But,
that's
go ahead.
fantastic.
Yeah, and it's a long way to go, but I know that at least I'm making progress, so I'm happy about that.
Great. Now going back to the every 6 month testing, you shared a little bit in the shorts that there is some trepidation about that, but you've kind of gotten used to that over 4 years, I'm sure.
Yeah, I have, but it is. It is tough, but I don't want to be, I was that guy who was just afraid to get the colonoscopy and just convince myself that I'll be okay if I ignore it. And so since I've learned my lesson the hard way, of course I get the testing, but there's, as we've said before, there's always that fear of it coming back. And so it's a nice relief when it's over. I go into it feeling confident, but I think I described it for the first video we made of, my logic tells me I'm good, but my emotion has that fear of, it might be back. We better find out for sure.
Well, I think that would be normal for any cancer survivor. So
absolutely,
I think that's part of the human experience.
Yep.
Well, it sounds like you've had some good updates. It's been a good few weeks for you, and we're glad you're moving along. As far as me, I've got a couple good updates. The biggest one is my blood clot is completely clear, and the hematologist has taken me off of the blood thinners. So I was cleared to restart my LeQuembi infusions.
And that's great news.
Yeah, man, I've been now it's been almost 4.5, 5 months without the LeQuembi, and it's been pushing at me. So I had an MRI last week, and my MRI results were normal, so there's nothing to hold it up. And I just got a call from the infusion center today, and they're set to do my infusion Wednesday afternoon. So that will be my 13th infusion. So, one of the things that people may ask is, since I had this big gap, and it's an 18-month program, how does that affect the process? Well, it really doesn't, because there's not a lot of research with LeQuembi as far as having gaps in the treatment. So they're just going to put me right back on the regular schedule at 13. And prior to number 13, I was supposed to have an MRI anyway. So everything worked out.
Well, that's great. Because I was wondering the same thing. Is there some sort of a drop off or anything? But I know you've had testing done with your LeQuembi to make sure about clotting and other things. But is there any kind of test to show whether there's any benefits coming to you from it?
Not really. They don't really have anything to show, for lack of a better term, benefits. Some people have indicated that they feel like they do better once they start the LeQuembi, but there's really not a lot of data to support that it necessarily improves current functioning. The data is that it delays decline in functioning. From that standpoint, I have not noticed a lot of decline. And I use the word a lot. There is one thing that I have noticed probably in the last few months that is abnormal for me, and I don't know what to relate it to. I have been really screwing up the months of the year. A couple of people were asking me, what do you have scheduled for next month? And I was saying December 5th, I have this, December whatever. And I've done that more frequently. I know it's not December, but I don't think it out as effectively as I used to. And I've been doing that for the last few months. I still get the day right. I still know what day of the week it is, and it's next week. So if it was next Thursday or whatever, and I don't know what day that is, but let's say that's May 3rd. I've been saying, oh yeah, next week on December 3rd, look at your schedule. I'd tell my wife. So months are now sometimes getting mixed up in my head, but
Okay.
That's not a big deal. It's not that I don't know what, that it's, spring, and I have noticed a little bit of that. But other than that, no, I've been doing really well. I've been continuing to do my Making Memories tour. Just got back from Vegas, and we'll have a lot of shorts on that. But I did want to share something from that. Speaking about making memories, I played blackjack one night at a table with a bunch of young professionals from a company. I forget the name of it. The name of the company is Palo Alto. They were involved in some kind of sale. I forget if it was Enterprises or Corporation or something like that. Either way, it was 5 young, probably mid-20s to early 30s people that were having a great time. They were having fun at the table, and I was thinking that's what we were when we were in our 20s and 30s, just going out and having a good time. And the table was playing well together. We were talking to each other. They brought me in. They were treating me like one of the group, and had a great time with them. And it was really neat to see young people out and doing things that we used to do, and I enjoyed it.
Well, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Since we're talking about having fun playing blackjack, and if you're noticing any decline, how about? I mean, there's different thoughts going on. If you take blackjack seriously, with whether to hit, stay, how much to bet, did you find yourself having any trouble with that, or when the dealer's drawing 5 cards down on themselves, whether they have a 21 or a 22? Like, does that still process, or do you have a little more trouble with that?
It still processes. I was slower. I'm slower at picking up the numbers and counting, and there were, I would say, at least a handful of times where I should have hit and I stayed, or I hit and I should have stayed, that I didn't process it in my head quick enough, because particularly at Vegas, they move quickly.
Yeah.
And there were a couple times where I just had to look at the numbers. And quite frankly, I'm a numbers person. I used to be able to put numbers together. And I don't want to say I was a card counter, but I could process what cards were coming out pretty.
No, I know. I mean, I play blackjack, and I'm a strictly basic strategy guy. Yeah. I don't like to stray at all. I don't get hunches. Yeah. If the book says hit, I hit. If it says stay, I stay. And if it says surrender, I surrender. I don't know if Vegas has surrender or not.
That's pretty much what I did. But I did make a few mistakes that I probably would not have made a few years ago.
Right.
But nothing dramatic. I was able to sit there and play pretty consistently. When I lost it on playing the hands right.
That's I could take that when I play.
Yeah. I wasn't saying, oh man, I can't believe they drew a 21 on a 4. Showing the 4 card. Yeah, that's going to happen. But just a great time. Great time.
Good. And you know what? I just thought of this while we're talking, but I do have another little bit of an update. And that is one of my symptoms. I don't talk about it often because it just pales in comparison to anything I've been through or what most cancer survivors are dealing with. But I've had bad neuropathy in my feet. Yeah. I got it originally when I first got cancer, is also when I first got the neuropathy. I don't know if that's coincident or connected, but after chemo, it got much worse. And I was seeing an acupuncturist locally. And I felt like that helped somewhat. It didn't make my feet feel better, but it seemed to curb the problems. And he relocated. Mm-hmm. And I had been about a year without any acupuncture. And in like the last month or so, I've noticed my feet getting a lot worse and bothering me. And something that I definitely want to talk about more in the future, thanks to my sister-in-law, who recently survived breast cancer, told me about a cancer wellness center in the area that has all sorts of opportunities for people with cancer survivors, and caretakers of people with cancer as well. And they have different services like massages and different kind of therapies, and they have acupuncture. So last week I had acupuncture for the first time in about a year.
Excellent.
And for a couple of days, it kind of was like it took the edge off. Again, I still had the neuropathy, but it took a little of that edge off, and now it's back. And so I'm kind of thinking, I think there is something to it. I think it does help. And hopefully getting back to regular treatments will at least stabilize that.
Oh, definitely. We'll talk about that some more. How about for our friends that are in the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton area, throw out the name of that location. We'll talk about it more, but throw the name out. So
It's the Northeastern Pennsylvania Cancer Wellness Center. It originally had a name, the name of Candy's Place, because it was named after a woman who passed from breast cancer named Candy. And what they found was eventually that the name was misleading and too many people didn't understand. They thought it was a place that sold candy, or that it was only for women, or that it was only for breast cancer survivors. And so they still honor her, but they changed it just to the wellness center, Cancer Wellness Center, so that because that's what it is. And so people are more able to find it.
Okay.
And as I said, we will talk about it more in the future because it is amazing, and I'll start making some videos about it. But I didn't want to go in and start recording the first couple of times I'm there.
Sounds good. Yeah, we kind of gotten into that recording mode with the podcasting. I think everyone starts doing that. I recorded a hell of a lot of stuff in Vegas, so we'll share that. And then we were talking about the shorts. You're going to do some updated shorts, and I'm going to do some making memories shorts and some pearls. I'll throw one pearl out there. I'm gonna kind of quasi throw Bill under the bus here for a second. It's time to catch him off guard. One of the pearls that I want to mention to people, when you're talking to patients with Alzheimer's, particularly people like myself that are early stage or they're young and they're still kind of with it, a lot of people try to empathize with them and say, oh yeah, I'm no worse than you. I kind of forget things too. I don't take offense to it. So I've never busted Bill about, occasionally saying, I forget things too. And, but always, if you have a family member or a friend or something who has Alzheimer's, that's something you want to be a little careful with, because there's a difference between, you forget things and you want to make them feel better. But sometimes it's like some Alzheimer's patients can be a little defensive about that, because in the back of their mind, they're sitting there saying, you don't have a diagnosis that, they have. So go ahead, Bill.
No, I just say what happens with me sometimes, though, is I get a little bit scared because some of the things that you talk about, knowing that your diagnosis is extremely early and that we're basically the same age, I sometimes wonder, and I know it's natural, but I just know my memory isn't what it once was. So I don't want to make light of the Alzheimer's diagnosis, but sometimes I wonder, am I just a normal 61-year-old in the brain, or am I experiencing stuff I shouldn't be experiencing in my mind?
And that's why I shared this point for caregivers and friends of people with Alzheimer's. Absolutely. I don't take any offense to it, and Bill and I have talked about that for him, and things to look out for. But a vast majority of people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s have levels of memory loss. The vast majority of them are not going to have Alzheimer's. It's going to be normal aging. So the pearl is, if you're taking care of someone, sometimes they don't want to hear that, I forget things too, because it frustrates them even more. So as a caregiver of someone with that, Bill, you can still bust my chops and tell me that. I don't take it that way, but it was just a thought of something that I thought should be shared with general caregivers, to be careful, because some Alzheimer's patients are very sensitive to that, and I've seen it in my office with patients. So kind of read the room, so to speak, with the people you're dealing with, and be careful. If they tend to get defensive, don't feel bad. Just sometimes when you're dealing with Alzheimer's patients, back off a little bit and read the room. And when you see that you might be getting them agitated, that's just time to step back and change to a different thing. So that's kind of a pearl for today.
It's a good one. So John said in the intro that this might be a 2-part episode, and this seems like a good time to break. So thanks for viewing or listening. And if you catch us back in 2 weeks, we're going to talk more about our childhood and growing up in the 70s and 80s, and a little bit more about our friendship. Hope to see you there.